Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia. This is Fearless Formula with Sharon Cline. Welcome to Fearless Formula on Business RadioX, where we talk about the ups and downs of the business world and offer words of wisdom for business success. I'm your host, Sharon Cline, and today in the studio, we have the director and performer of Woodstock Arts Improv Troupe, and they teach classes for adults, teens, youths, and he is also a teacher and has been a teacher for 25 years. Hats off to you. This is Joe Lemmo.
Yes, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
excited to be here. Appreciate the invitation.
Of course. I'm so happy you could come on a day that's not my normal Fearless Formula Friday because we are supposed to get some snow.
Right.
A little nervous about it.
I was hoping we could have done it earlier in the day. You could have given me like a doctor's note, and I could have gotten out of the school day.
I wish I had power like that.
No, I love what I do. I wouldn't want to do that. No.
Well, so I'm excited to hear kind of about how you got started in improv. I was doing, of course, my typical limited cyber stalking.
Right, yes.
To be able to ask you some good questions. But what I wanted to know is initially you grew up in, is it Erie, Pennsylvania?
Yes, Erie, Pennsylvania.
How did you come down here?
Well, I have relatives, aunt and uncle, who live here and still live here. And I was traveling in the summers since I was 16. I loved to come down to Georgia and kind of visit and always had a good time. And then when I was studying to be a teacher in 99, I graduated in December 99, they talked about job growth down south. They said, if you want to get a teaching job, you're willing to move, Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, you'll get a job right away. And they were right. So I decided to move, talked to my parents. I said, what do you think? They go, yeah, you should do it. So I did it. And 25 years later, a wife, 2 children, and a 25-year career in teaching and improviser now, about 15 years. I'm still here.
A whole life.
Yes, it's interesting when you look at that. I'm 47, and I'm like, oh my goodness, 25. That's over half of my life now.
Wow.
I've been in Georgia, so
does it feel like home to you now?
I guess so. Yeah, it does pretty much. Up north, people are always like, you bump into people in the South all the time. Wait, where are you from? You don't sound like you're from the South. And then you start talking and finding other people who are also from the North. So, I still refer to that as the home,
Okay, so I'm excited to talk to you because I got to see you and my friend Christine Fitzgerald, who is we did a play together a couple of years ago, and she's just a wonderful human. And she was taking one of your classes, so I got to see her performance a couple weeks ago. And it just seems so fascinating to me, the whole process of it, and the bravery it takes to be on stage like that. This is not something that you sort of grew up doing, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, I grew up playing hockey and soccer. Those are my 2 sports, and a little bit of tennis. Nothing at all to do with the theater. Not even interested in going to plays. Obviously, I loved going to movies, and so it was very far from. It's far from what I was doing growing up. And even in my family, nobody was an actor or pursued performance. So it was definitely a surprise when I got into improv, definitely.
So how did you get exposed to it?
Well, it's interesting because Woodstock Arts, I consider myself an OG with Woodstock
Nice.
Arts because I take us back to the Town Lake Arts Center is what it used to be called, TLAC. And it used to be located, a tiny little performance center on Bells Ferry Road on Kellogg Creek. I think it was like near Kellogg Creek and Bells Ferry. Very small, about 103 seat, venue. I was recruited to become a board member for the theater at that point because I was an educator, and they thought it'd be nice to have an educator at the time. So I joined, and we were actually moving the theater from Town Lake Arts Center there all the way to downtown where it is located now, when we just got that space from the city.
Downtown Woodstock.
Yes. So we had to, pick up props and load things and put them in boxes, and I just couldn't help myself that I was putting stuff on. I was like putting helmets on and swords and coming out and becoming characters, and people are like, Joe, we're supposed to be moving the stuff, not putting it on. But I was like, I don't know what came over me. I've always enjoyed entertaining my friends, my family members and my friends. So at the time, the troupe director was getting ready to start the improv team there. She said to me, have you ever considered improv. And I was like, I don't know what that is. No, I have not. And so I ended up auditioning for the troupe. I made it, and then, was a part of it for a while, and then I became the director after a certain amount of time.
Okay, so you auditioned and just got in that easy.
Yeah, it was, I guess it was natural ability. Improvisers really, everybody improvises all day long. It's something we do, and some people are more comfortable, doing that and having conversations. But it felt natural to me. I enjoyed the creativity as an educator as well, being willing to, picture things and become characters, and personification, all that kind of stuff just kind of fell into place for me as a performer.
What did it feel like the first time that you auditioned and everything? I mean, you didn't have any training at all.
No, I didn't, and I was single at the time. So it was also an opportunity for me to connect with other people. And so that became an exciting part of it. I really got along well, and I'm still good friends with, a lot of those original troupe members. And so that kind of was fun for me. That felt natural. We had good chemistry. An improv team needs to have good chemistry overall. It shouldn't be one person standing out over another. So it's kind of a nice ensemble of people.
You were on this troupe, or in this troupe.
Troupe, yeah.
And you had been participating over and over, and then all of a sudden they asked you, we need a director, would you do it?
Well, no, I was a part of it, and after a while it kind of it dissipated a bit. So we took a break. I want to say it was maybe around, I don't know the exact year, but maybe 2015 or 16 we actually didn't have a troupe for a short amount of time. We had a guest on one of our shows. His name was J-Star, and he was running a theater called the Basement Theater, which was an improv venue in Buckhead. They're no longer there, but he had recruited me and asked me if I'd like to be a part of, their team. And so I was performing in both places. And then when the troupe shut down it was called the I Think Improv Troupe before it was Woodstock Arts Improv Troupe. I was there, so I was still kind of getting good time as an improviser. And then I came back, and they had offered me, the position if I wanted to be the director.
Did you question that at all, or were you like, yes?
No, I didn't. I did have some parameters. I had certain, a certain way that I wanted to do it. Different aspects of it, and they're great over there. Christopher Boudston, who's the director. He actually was a part of the team that helped to hire him. So, and I got to know him really well. So they were very open to my suggestions, and they said, yep, that sounds good. So yeah, we did it.
I'm trying to imagine how much growth you've had with improv from the very beginning, from the first time until now. What have you noticed over the years? I don't know, is it like an improv muscle, that you practice and you get good at?
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you, the interesting thing about improv is if you talk to someone who's been in it for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you still have a lot to learn, from it. So it's kind of a constant educational experience for you. And I think as I've grown, like I wasn't a father, I wasn't a husband, and you look at a lot of comedians and their bits will change depending on the stage of life that they're in, because you have new material, because ultimately as an improviser, you're trying to be a character that is recognizable to the audience. And then, through that process, something unusual tends to happen when you're making things up. So I think it's allowed me to play different characters stronger and to understand them, better, because I'm living them now.
Are they all kind of floating around in your head?
Yeah, they do. I sometimes when I'm driving, I'll practice my accents.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So fun.
I don't have, there's certain go-to, accents that I think are a little bit easier to play with. But, sometimes you just turn into something else, and it's, you learn that I just start playing around with my voice and lowering it or higher, hey, what's going on? Because, you can have a different character that, is inspired by the pitch of your voice. So
when I was doing theater in high school, I know I took improv classes, and I've never been comfortable with it. You have to think so quickly. In my mind, that's what it was like 100 years ago when I was in high school. Is it Is it that you are, I know that you have to listen to each other a lot in order to be,
Right.
because you're really collaborative, right? So how does your brain keep up with it? That is my biggest hang up with it for me, why I would never probably do it unless forced.
Right. Well, I think you're right when you said listen. I think it's the term should really be we don't think quickly, we listen quickly. And because it's primarily listening. And I think what's been really beautiful for me is I have been able to understand how the applications and skills in improvisation are actually lifelong skills.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I learned several years ago that as an improviser, your goal really is to make your scene partner look good. I mean, that's a big part of it. So when we're making things up on the spot, if my scene partner has just said something, I want to show them that I value what they've said, and I'm going to build on what they've said or help justify what they've said. So they think to themselves, oh, that was a good choice, and then I'm hoping they're going to reciprocate that. So when I'm performing with other people on stage, I'm really listening to what they're saying so I can build off of it, show them I'm listening and build it. And then if you think about just an average relationship, most people in conversations are already thinking about what they want to say when they're listening to somebody. You can't do that in improv. You can't think about what you want to say next. You might miss a key detail. So that's a huge part. Trust. I mean, improv, you have to trust your scene partners. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to share emotion and be clear on how you feel about what's happening. Because if you don't, then it's hard to play off of that character. So those I have found have been just, kind of like really good relationship things. As a consequence, my wife knows that. So she and we talk about it, and
it's a marriage skill.
Yes, it is, and it's good because it makes me think about it. Also like eye contact. When you're in a scene, you need to be checking in with your scene partner. You can't do things. You have to pay attention to body language, all those things. So I've learned a lot about that through the years, and still learning. But those are really nice kind of lessons that you can apply, to the rest of your life.
Do you have a particular improv scene that you did that was just like you high-fived yourself when it was over? It was so great. You were just like so happy, and you think about it sometimes.
That's a tough one. I mean, I do have one that kind of, the first thing that comes to my mind is actually a scene where you don't use any words. It's all gibberish. It's called Murder Mystery. So someone has been killed somewhere with something, and basically it's like charades. You're trying to get the other person to guess who it was, where it was, and what the weapon was, and it's all gibberish. So you're trying to look at body language, and I was not getting what the other person was doing, and I was getting very frustrated, and the audience was recognizing that, and it was a big crowd, so it was a lot of energy, and it was just some huge laughs that just I'll never forget. I mean, that's the beauty of improv is you go there, and sometimes the audience is 30 people. Sometimes it's 130 people, and it's different, but every show is unique, and hearing that audience laugh is really fun.
It must be so satisfying.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I think and I've learned to, I used to, sometimes I walk away from a show and my wife was there, and I'd say, man, that was not a good show. Oh. And she goes, are you kidding me? That show was great. And I realized that an improv troupe or an ensemble is not, it's not, valued on just one person. So I felt like maybe my choices weren't that funny, or I didn't feel good, but yet if other people were doing really well, then as a whole, we have given our audience a great show. So it's not individualized. It's more of a team effort. So,
given that you had a natural propensity to do well in improv, do you find that a lot of your students, there are some that just get it, that just don't need to be taught quite as much?
Yes. And that's been a lot of fun, working with Christine and so many people. I've worked with just people of different backgrounds and age levels. I like you were saying, the youngest I've worked with is the youth. We have a youth troupe, or youth class that we have, and we have a teen class, and then adults. adults, we could have a class where there's a 19-year-old and there's a 65-year-old. I work with some people in their 70s, and it's fun to see, gaps kind of narrow in all these connections to people of different age levels. And, I had a teacher or a student who was a neonatal brain surgeon, an artist.
What?
And she's in my class, and she was so smart, so, funny, witty. And it was an honor to be working with someone like that.
Isn't it interesting to think that there are people every day we pass by and had no idea they may have this dream,
right?
A neonatal surgeon to want to do improv. It's just kind of, I love that she did it, because so many people don't really follow some of those impulses. Right.
Yeah. And so, it's fun working with different people like that. It's, you can kind of tell pretty early on if somebody is going to be successful with it. And most students, they either love it and they want to do it again, or they just think, yeah, that was cool. I think I'm good. That was fun. I did it, but I'm okay. And there's some that are just, they can't get enough of it. Like, they want to know when the next class is going to be. How do they get can I be a part of the troupe? And so that's fun. It's fun to see them, get that bug, because I have it. It's really become a second career for me. It's now a profession. I get paid,
nice.
And I do freelance work, and I have other shows. So it's kind of it's my fun time and a hobby and a profession, kind of all mixed into one.
It's kind of the dream.
It is. I'm very fortunate as an educator, being an educator for so long, and I have a master's and a specialist degree. So I've kind of put myself in a good position financially to be the primary breadwinner,
nice.
In the house. And that's nice. And then to be able to do improv, but then to get paid for it as well is definitely, it's a support. It's a great support to the family.
Do you find that because I'm trying to picture the kids, like the youth group, are they just adorable? Just imagine it.
They have a lot of energy, and
that says a lot right there.
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot of their scenes. It's funny, the youth, their scenes are like just really extreme. It's over the top. Oh. Yeah. And then the teens, you get that angst. There's like kind of this. They're really fun. The teens are fun to work with too, and because a lot of them they didn't necessarily fit in other places. They aren't necessarily a jock. And they do weird stuff. Like, improvisers, we're weird, we're regular people, but as an adult, I play like a child with other adults, and we're playing like children and playing make-believe, so you have to be silly, and you have to be okay with that. And I think the teens, when they get to experience that, it's special for them, because they're like, okay, there's other people like me, this is all right. I do things, I'm kind of weird. And I might not be well received in my classroom, maybe, but this is kind of like it becomes a safe place, which is really special. Like, a lot of improv groups become close, and that's really fun to kind of be a part of, you had
said you have to trust each other. So it's like the ultimate trust exercise, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you can tell, like, if people are trying to be funny, it doesn't work. And it's very awkward. Like, that's a big thing that I have had to learn through improv. Like, if you're purposely trying to be funny at the expense of your scene partner, or jokey, or puns, like, there's no place for that really in improv. Oh. It's supposed to be raw. It's supposed to be in the moment, and you aren't pre-planning things. Inevitably, when you do that without a script, something unusual always happens, and then you embrace that thing, and you say, if this is true, what else could be true about this character or this situation? So it's really, there are no mistakes. We have a beautiful saying in improv: there are no mistakes, only gifts. Aww. And so you don't see it as a mistake. Oh, you mispronounced, chauffeur. You wanted to say chauffeur, but you said gopher. Like, you said gopher, and, my gopher should be, my chauffeur, your gopher. Okay. So your gopher. So we would play off of that, in a positive way to make it a part of the scene, basically.
Do you find, since you do this so often, that there are days that are better than others for you as a performer?
Yes, definitely. A lot of times, most of our shows are Friday nights, so I've taught. I teach second grade.
Oh,
so,
I
work, I've taught fourth grade, fifth grade, seventh grade. and now I'm currently with second grade. So, I'm with the kids all day long. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of emotion, and I am, pretty drained. But as an improviser, you kick into you have a new gear, and I host the shows, so I'm setting up the games. Well, you saw that when you were there.
I did.
So that's another level of energy that you have to bring to the show, and that's sometimes what I have to deal with. Is I'm both the host and an improviser, so I kind of have to change gears. I have to be in a scene and be a character, and then I need to be a host and make the audience feel welcome and understanding of what's going on. So it's kind of like it's sometimes it's tough on a Friday night to find the energy, but I do, and then I crash when I get home.
When you were working with the other troupe, the one that was in Buckhead, did you find that the energy was different because they were different people?
Well, definitely. It was a city club atmosphere. We had, it was like we had two shows. There were two shows on the weekends, an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock show. So the 8 o'clock show was usually family friendly, and so there were sometimes kids at the show and families. And then the 10 o'clock show was, you didn't know
what you're getting.
You're in Buckhead and it's 10 o'clock. And, it also was a small venue. It only sat about 55.
Yeah, but they want to be entertained, don't
yes,
they?
Yeah. So it's much more intimate. The stage was tiny. And the audience, and it was really fun. I loved it, actually. It was like I was getting out of, Woodstock. And I mean, I love it here, but I was going into the city and I was performing. And at first we didn't get paid, but then we were getting paid. So, this is pretty cool. It wasn't much money, but, it was fun to get away, but I love our shows at Woodstock Arts because they are family oriented. I mean, we're clean comedy. And so we have a lot of regulars that are families, and it's fun to see them to be able to come together on a Friday night to a wholesome, comedic performance. And so we appreciate being able to deliver that to those audiences.
I love that families go to something art-worthy, here in downtown Woodstock. It's not just paintings and things or things on the green, but it's actual theater. But it's not a play either.
Right.
So.
Well, a lot of times they say that improv is a nice window into the theater. So if you're out there and you're like, I've never gone to a play, never gone to a musical, I don't know, would I get it, or is there anything I really like? We like to invite people, come check out an improv show because it's interactive and it's segmented, and we try to make it funny. So it's a little bit more relaxed, and I think it's a nice introduction for some people to theater because, I mean, that's what we're doing. We just don't have a script, basically.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm interviewing Joe Lemmo. He is the director of the Woodstock Arts Improv Troupe. I wanted to ask you, where do you find that I know you had said that your improv skills kind of can be in other parts of life, but are you finding that people are coming to improv because they want to apply those skills to other parts of their own lives? Yes.
There are some, actually, some people in sales have gone. I've had some people who have learned. They've been told, hey, if you take an improv class, it might help you with sales because it's all about communicating with others. So I have found that that is one area. I had a lady who English was her second language, and she took the class. She actually took a workshop, and she found that the intensity of the in the spot or on the spot in the moment responses really challenged her ability to understand her language. So it really helped her work on her language.
That is brave.
Conversationally, yeah. And then she decided to take she took a class after that. So she pursued it, and then she encouraged somebody else who also was taking the class for the same reason. So I think if it's an English language learner, improv can be a great way to expose yourself to conversational moments and interacting with different types of people. So a lot of people have done that. Some people are actors, they're aspiring actors. Currently in my class, there's a comedian, a stand-up comedian. And a lot of times, if you look at some of the great comedians out there, they have spent some time in improv in Chicago. It's a big place. Chicago and LA are huge meccas for improv. So Second City, a lot of talent comes from there. So we have aspiring people, and we have people who are like bucket lists, they're like, it scares me. The idea of doing something like this is something I would never do. So here I am. And some of them, some haven't made it after a couple of classes. They just couldn't do it. It was too intense.
But the fact that they were brave enough to try, know that they're afraid of doing it, but then still do it. I love that.
Yeah, and we try to, a lot of times at the beginning of a class, we talk about why we're there, what brought you here. And we learn a lot about each other, and we try to take care of each other, do those kind of check-ins. Like if somebody says, yeah, this is something I've never done before, I'm not comfortable, then we try to embrace that, and we try not to, be over the top with someone like that, be a little bit more compassionate. And I think, in life in general, in all of our working environment, if people were a little bit more aware of that, or even willing to share, that real, honest, feedback, we might be a little bit kinder to other people, in realizing that.
When you walk around downtown Woodstock, do you just see people everywhere?
I used to, when I was teaching in the Town Lake area, for 18 years, I was in there. I would get a lot of the Mr. Lemmo, there would be these Mr. Lemmo sightings. And actually my wife, it was fun. One of our first dates that we went on, we went to a movie, and then we came down to downtown Woodstock, and there was something going on where the big event space is, the amphitheater. There was something going on there. So we were walking, and it was almost like Groundhog Day. Like I had planted all these people, because people were coming up to me and, oh, Mr. Lemmo, and I actually had been named Teacher of the Year.
Oh my God! Congratulations!
Thank you.
That's a huge thing.
The previous year. So then someone was like, "Teacher, that was so awesome, Teacher." And I'm like, "Wow, this is all good stuff right here."
Was your wife like, "Oh my God"?
Yeah, she was really impressed. She was like, "Wow, a lot of people."
Celebrity.
So it is fun. It's fun to meet different people. I've definitely have through the years met a lot of different people, and it's fun for me to interact with people outside of the education world, because educators, we sometimes the job isn't necessarily deemed cool, and you're not meeting different people. You're with I love the people I work with. They're fantastic. But out in it's like the real world. Mm-hmm. Like right now, like you offered me, would you like some water or tea? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take the tea. And then I don't even know what you said. What kind of tea? What kind of tea?
Berry something. It has no caffeine in it.
I'm like, I'm gonna take it. Most people are like, nah, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm gonna take. What else you got? You got snacks, or you guys got hats or shirts? What can I get?
We have hats in here.
That kind of stuff. I'm kind of like, so for me, the improv world has been exciting because it's been I don't know, I feel like it's cool, like to be an entertainer. I get to call myself a comedian, an improviser, perform in shows. It's been really special. And then work with other people that I bring with me on stage, who are really fun, just funny individuals, just good people. A lot of improvisers are very talented. So it's been fun to have that new network of people, and then to learn, and to meet other people in downtown. So it's really neat to bump into people, walking around.
In that environment where you're having to employ bravery oftentimes, and to think on your feet, and to be so connected with other people, are you finding that there are very similar themes to what we all want, and as like humans? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it probably goes back to definitely being heard. I think is a huge thing. Just that recognition. We have an exercise in improv. It's called So I'll. Okay, So I'll. So basically what I would do is I would say, it's to you, if you were my scene partner, I would say, it's raining outside. And then you would just repeat what I'd said. And you said, oh, what you're saying is it's raining outside, so I'll, and then you would say something else like, I'll bring an umbrella. Mm-hmm. And then what I would say is, what you're saying is you'll bring an umbrella, so I'll bring some extra rain boots. And then we just keep repeating what the other person had said. What you're saying is you'd bring rain boots, and it's kind of like an exercise we do to remind ourselves, to show the other person that we have heard them. So I think we all have an innate nature, of yearning of recognition and validation. I think that's probably a big word too. It maybe even goes deeper than being heard, actually being validated. Those are big things. As an improviser, you have to emote. And if I am angry with you as a scene partner, I want you to be affected by that. I don't want you to just brush it off.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, how does that make you feel? You know what I mean? Are you angry that I'm angry, or are you happy that I'm angry? Which would be fun. Oh, you're angry. Oh, that's great. I've been waiting for you. Finally. So, and then, when you say something like that, you're gifting me something about the character and our relationship. So I think those are big parts of, that validation is big. And even just having fun. Like, I think people like to have fun and feel like they can be themselves. That's what we try to we try to treat improvisers as. Just be yourself, like be honest, and you're going to be received. And we're going to work together and build something in the moment together. I think it's just like at every relationship, any working environment, all of that is just, validation, listening, trust, honesty. So it's a fun hobby, to be a part of.
I think this show is sort of like a very small microcosm of that whole theme of being able to say, tell me your story. What's it like to walk in your shoes for a little bit, or what have you learned? I actually wanted to ask you also, you obviously have been in improv for a long, long time now. So what would you have wished you had known before you got started that you know now about improv? Is there anything that surprises you?
I think one of the big things was that I learned later on was about the scene partner. I used to think that as an improviser, there's this stress of having to be funny, and I think, oh man, I need to make sure when I step out on that audience that I am as funny as I can be. And that's not really what it's about. Okay. It's not. It's about a connection, building a scene with somebody. The other thing, too, is early on in my career, I was really affected by the size of the audience. And, as I said, at the Basement Theater, when I performed there, it was very small. So it was, and it was dark and small. So if you had 30 people, it still felt pretty full, But at Woodstock Arts, we have a big, beautiful theater and a huge stage. So sometimes with a smaller audience, you have these insecure feelings of, oh, people are going to look around and be like, there's nobody here, And my wife, as usual, shared some enlightening information with me. And she said, it doesn't matter how big the audience is. If you put on a good show, they're going to leave wondering why more people weren't there. So that was a really good piece of advice that she gave me. And so now there's a different energy when you have a smaller crowd. But I think all those years I was disappointed at the end of a show. I didn't even think about necessarily how good the show was. I was thinking about, there weren't enough people. Like, I want to bring people in. I want to feel like it's a cool experience. And then the other thing that I used to worry about was who the audience was. I was really affected by that. Like I said, a lot of our shows are more family oriented. And sometimes I'm like, well, where are the 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds? Are we not cool enough? You know what I mean, for them? But a lot of times there's language at other shows, that I think some people like to go to. But I've been content with our audience. So I think those are probably the biggest takeaways for me if I would have known. But it's been a growing experience, learning experience. With my own children, it's been a lot of fun. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and we do lots of improv games and exercises.
They must love it. I mean, you must be really, obviously not every minute, but to be able to play with your kids in a different way than like board games,
Yeah. Well, and my wife is, she has her own music studio. She teaches music and movement to children ages 0 to 7 and their parents. They do together. And she also is a pit instructor for a marching band, and she works for an indoor drum line, and she was an elementary music teacher, and she plays the piano. And so there's all this music. We have this fun, chemistry that I didn't even realize was going to happen in our relationship. And that's where theater has been. She's a big theater fan too. She loves Wicked, and she's been a big theater person. So it was really fun to see how that kind of grew, how God kind of put that in my life, and then kind of put me in the right position, to meet her. So it's been really cool. And yeah, the kids, we always joke, we're like, sometimes we wish we weren't as fun with our kids. Like our kids, they always want to do stuff together. You know, we're like, just go play. No, can we do character? Can we do this? No, just play by yourself for a little bit. So, okay. No, but they're really cute, and they like to kind of jump in and do improv games, you know, at home as well.
I don't play like that. Like I don't, as an adult, I think I don't ever really let myself kind of just play. And I'm realizing just listening to you how kind of sad that makes me feel. I wish I did more or had permission to do more.
Right.
I guess I don't know if permission is an even important word, but for some reason that I feel like I need to throw that in there. Like someone needs to give it to me, you know, as if I can't give it to myself.
Well, and also there's, you need to, in life, you need to have, we have serious moments, and, you know, it can't all be, you know, fun and games. And, you know, a lot of people know that one person, everything's a joke, you know, so it's hard to have a conversation with them. And that can be dangerous. So you have to have balance, you know, so I think sometimes when I'm at an event and then someone finds out you do comedy, it's almost like they're like, okay, do something funny. What do you got? What do you got?
Turn it on right now.
I mean, you know, and it's, you know, in that case, it's more about just being a good listener and having good conversation. But, you know, you have to balance as well. And I think that's what excites people when they take a class is they feel like, wow, I just get to play. You know, and that's really like what it is, just adult play. And, you know, there's lots of great in Atlanta, you know, Dad's Garage, Whole World Theater.
Cineprov.
Yeah, there's just such a great improv scene, and it's fun for us to be outside, you know, in the suburbs. And some people, when they find out about where we are, they're like, oh, I didn't know there was improv, you know. I thought I had to go into the city, you know, to see it. So I think I see people all over the place, like they're excited about that. And I think that's what brings them back is like, wow, that was something different. You know, I haven't let loose like that in a while, you know, cause everything is so serious and, you know, so, I think that's fun witnessing that, being a witness to that, you know, each time.
What would you want people to know about improv that maybe the average person doesn't know? Like someone who's listening that, I don't know, maybe would be encouraged to come see it. What would they need to know?
I think, you know, there is, if somebody wanted to just, some people, it amazes me that some people still don't know what improv is. and really just to define
it's like whose line is it anyway?
Yeah,
you know
that's usually what we say. It's kind of like whose line is it anyway? I mean, that's the type of improv that we perform at Woodstock Arts is basically we take suggestions from the audience and we create characters and scenes based on those suggestions. So it's really theater without the script. So I would want them to know that every show is different, you know, and there are different types of performers. You know, our troupe has about 15 to 16 people in our troupe, and we usually have about 6 on stage, you know, for a show. So you'll see a variety. So I would tell them that, you know, it's different every time. So that's one thing that's kind of fun about it. If someone was thinking about taking a class, I would tell them that, you know, there are bad teachers out there, you know, and there are some some people have had bad experiences, unfortunately. But I think that I would encourage people to, you know, if you're worried about not being able to think quickly, or you're worried about what other people are going to think, if you're going to be funny, that's, you know, all the pressure should be off. You know, you get in there and, you know, everyone else is in the same boat as you are. And most teachers, I think, are very encouraging. And when I was watching Christine's performance. Well, that's what's nice for me is I'm being an educator. So, you know, not all improv teachers and coaches are necessarily also, you know, educators. And I've enjoyed that because we didn't always have classes, you know, at the theater. And then I started those, and we've developed, you know, several levels now. And so we have a youth and a teen and level 1, level 2, level 3. And so my education background and teaching background kind of supports that. So now I have this love of improv, and I'm learning about improvisation, and now I feel more comfortable teaching it. You know, especially for the kids too. Not a lot of people can work with the younger kids. You know, with the energy level. Yes, yeah, and patience, and, you know, all that. You kind of have to have that background. So. That's what I would do. You know, I'd recommend they just encourage them to check it out. We have shows on Woodstock Art. It's interesting because we're called WIT. We are the Woodstock Arts Improv Troupe. So we basically, I'm the director of our in-house, troupe. We're not like an outside group that comes in and performs at Woodstock Arts. And I think some people don't know. Like some people don't know that.
You're the resident ones.
Yeah, we're the resident comedians,
Yeah.
there, and we perform once a month. We have workshops, a lot of times in the summer as well. So, but I would encourage people to go down to Dad's Garage, go to Whole World. I mean, there's really a lot of talented performers, out there. So I think it'd be a fun thing for date night, for, family night, girls' night out, guys' night out. I think there's really not a bad reason to go to an improv show.
Do you find that you use your improv skills while you're teaching?
Yes, I do. And with the second graders, sometimes it causes more.
Oh no!
More of a
it's
you break into characters, and then all of a sudden they get all riled up. I remember this one. It was probably one of my maybe first or second day working with second graders, and this kid drew a picture of a portal, on his paper. And then I pretended to jump into that portal, and I was walking all over the classroom. And I joke that it's kind of it's my space to work on characters as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because they're a fun audience.
Well, they're also honest. If
yes.
it doesn't work out,
yeah,
they'll tell you.
And we do a lot of read alouds. So it comes into play with characters when you're reading a good children's book, and there's different characters. I really, I'm invested in it.
Yeah.
I commit to the position. So I enjoy that, using it and as a dad as well with my kids. It's a lot of fun to do that.
It's a real positive energy. I'm just trying to imagine you in a classroom, playing around, because that energy, it's infectious and it's engaging. So these, if they're not paying attention, they will pay attention to when you have that play energy.
Yes. Yeah. But even that, I'll tell you, even that does expire. They get, it's interesting because when I was younger and they wheeled in the TV and they had
it was a good day.
Oh yeah.
It was the best day.
Wow. Now it's there's just, there's a lot to compete with. And I have a YouTube channel, Joe Lemmo Comedy. And, I jokingly said, yeah, I'm excited. I'm up to about 324 subscribers, wow, I'm big time, but, I kind of have a variety of, some performances that I've done, little clips from performances, just interactions, just silly things. And, but it takes a lot of time, to do stuff like that. But I've enjoyed doing that, and so I do feel like I provide good entertainment for them, but you do, like I said, have to have that balance of structure and seriousness, and sometimes they are a tough crowd because they are used to being entertained, constant entertainment. Mm-hmm. So
over the top, even more and more and more, it seems,
yeah.
Whatever they're seeing, it just seems like that was last year. Now there's something bigger and better, and it's just hard to keep up, I imagine, for something that's very organically done. It's not like it's produced, But
I think, even going back to the listening, like the other teachers that I work with, we just sometimes talk about, I have 22 kids in one class, and then I switch and I have 24 in the other class. And, kids have a lot they want to share. They want to tell you stuff, and sometimes it's not the right time. And, trying to balance showing them that you care, that you're invested in what they're saying, but also balancing, moving on and doing what you need to do is a lot of times a challenge. But I think a lot of my improv does help me, with that. And a lot of these kids are they just want to be heard again. They're looking for that validation, so sometimes you don't even need to do much comedy. It just show them that you are interested in what they're saying a lot of times. And I think that goes a long way, as well.
Thank you for being an educator. My hat is off to you. I think I would be a terrible educator. Maybe for a minute I could do it, but long term, no. I have strengths in other places, but not that. And I always admired people who could manage all of the different personality types and home environments that get brought into a classroom, and to be able to impact someone's life. They're so young now, but you don't know what you're creating, for them in the future. And appreciate that about you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is a tricky thing about the profession, is there's a tough, it's hard to monetize, day to day. And
that's a good way to put it.
I have, I've got some special, relationships that I've built through the years. And one actually is around the holidays. This one former student of mine who's now a teacher. He teaches high school.
That's so sweet.
And his mom is a baker. And when he was in my class, this was, I think it was maybe my third or fourth year of teaching. So we're talking 20 years ago. They brought me ginger snaps. And the next year, then I didn't have him in my class anymore. But the office called me, Mr. Lemmo, I got a delivery for you, ginger snaps.
Stop it.
The next year, ginger snaps. And this past year, I got ginger snaps and chocolate chip cookies. So like every single year, a kind note. We value you, and we're so thankful. It's like those are really exciting moments as a teacher. So. It's tough out there right now for teachers. So I appreciate you saying something. I give a shout out to all my teachers out there because it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard job. But they put a lot of emotion into it and, try to encourage each other, and we try to work together as a team, other teachers. And so, it's a good profession. And I'm thankful that I got into it. It allowed me, before I was married and had kids, it allowed me to have, to have that sense of value, because they look up to you so much. So, but then, when I got married and now I have children, my teaching has changed. It's changed me, just like as an improviser. So it's a little bit different. I don't go to as many basketball games and piano concerts. I have my own family. I have my own children. So, that's kind of shifted a little bit. But it's been fun, and I've had kids come to my shows, which is nice. That when I have students come to improv shows, I'm not like, oh gosh, okay, hey everybody, let's give them the clean version, clean version tonight. I got some kids in the audience, so that's been a nice kind of addition, like to invite people. And like teachers, sometimes they'll have a teacher's night out, and they come to an improv show, and it makes me feel good that I can. I can share that with my colleagues, so it's been fun to see how the worlds have collided in that way.
I went back to college in 2012, and I went to Kennesaw State University to finish my degree. And I hated school when I was younger. I hated everything about it. And I was very stubborn and just was like, why do I have to take this class? It's ridiculous when I think about it now. But when I was an adult, I think I was 38 when I went back to school, I loved it. I felt so engaged with everything. I appreciated every professor so much because they really put so much time and energy and effort into encouraging us to learn. I just felt I could have been a student, like a life, what do they call it, professional student? I could have been a professional student forever because I just loved it. And some subjects I was, more inclined to do well, but I didn't have an appreciation for it when I was younger. And I kind of feel like I'm, did a disservice to these teachers who were really trying to help me and to build my life on some skills. So, it's just sad that I had to be an adult. But I'm glad at least I had a moment to where I could say thank you. Even one of my professors, so much younger than me too, so sweet, this woman. And I was just like, you are like my daughter's age. And I just thank you for caring, so much about us. And some of them I became friends with. Yeah. Yeah, just as an appreciation of who they are and the effort that they're making. I think it's underrated.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I have this reflection on, this is my 25th year of teaching. I'm 47 years old, and I started going to school, in kindergarten when I was around 5 or 6 years old, and have not stopped since then. So I'm like over 41 years of my life. Every new school year, I have been in school. So I'm
interesting. You're a professional student in some way.
Yeah, with some regards. It's fun though, because now I'm like, I try to tell my students I'm from their future now, because like I think about them in second grade and what it was like for me in second grade. I think it's good. It's fun to reflect on that. And so they are there, and I'm where I am, and it's like it's kind of a cool experience. But yeah, I think that's what happens as we get older. We realize we appreciate different things, and it's cool for us to be able to have those experiences and then share those with others.
Well, I have obviously a very naturally curious mind that doesn't chill. And when I had younger children before I was in college, I was very focused on them. But getting out of the mom mode and just kind of seeing what's important and on the horizon so that I can have a degree to be able to have a job outside of being a mom. I just loved how much there was to learn. It just fits so well for me. But then again, I get to do something like this where I get to sit with you and ask you a lot of questions. And I have one more for you, actually.
Yes. Where
do you see yourself in like 5 years? Where would you like to see this troupe go?
5 years. Well, I would say that, the Woodstock Arts has, visions of expanding their theater. We have different stages. So we're hoping to eventually have like a main stage and then like a black box theater and then also some kind of like a lounge. So that's down the road. And so I think with regards to the Woodstock Arts Improv Troupe, I would kind of see us maybe, 5 to 7 years, maybe having regular shows, every weekend.
Got it.
Lots of opportunity and smaller audience. So we would have a smaller space. We'd have regular shows. I think I could see myself doing that. I joke, 6 years, at 25 years teaching now, 5 or 6 years, I could be retiring from the classroom. Not retiring at all. I'm excited to see where my education background and my improv background and skills might be able to, lead me in a position of something, that I could be of assistance to people, like, in the corporate world or, I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm kind of excited. There's a little bit of that unknown. But I have a young family, so I'm kind of excited to see where that takes me. And, I don't know. So I think that's probably, that's where I would see it, maybe performing a little bit more and, a bigger audience might be fun at some point, but.
Well, how could people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do?
Well, we have classes at Woodstock Arts. So if you go to woodstockarts.org, you can find information about events that we're going to be a part of. We also have Facebook and Instagram, Woodstock. We are WIT at Woodstock Arts. So you could find us on Instagram and Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, Joe Lemmo Comedy. I think it's like Joe Lemmo Comedy 71, 79 or something like that. I don't know.
I'll follow you.
Yeah, it's on there. Don't expect greatness. It is just kind of a medley of being a dad and a husband and a teacher and an improviser, kind of all mashed into one. So, we'd love to have you come out to a show, and our next show is February 20th. I believe it's a Thursday, and that show will be at 7:30 at Woodstock Arts. And, we'd just reach out. If you want to learn more about improv, just holler at me.
Well, Joe Lemmo, thank you so much for coming to the studio on a Wednesday. And
yes, thank you.
I really appreciate your being so generous with your words and really explaining the background of what improv does, not just for the performers, but for the audience, and then other ways that you can apply it to your life. I like that it's something that you obviously seem like you'll always have in your life too, whether you're teaching or not.
Yes, I appreciate it, and thanks for trusting me and going on air with only a mild skimming of me on
mild skimming
of figuring out who I am. So appreciate that trust, and appreciate the invite.
Of course, and thank you all for listening to Fearless Formula on Business RadioX. And again, this is Sharon Cline, reminding you that with knowledge and understanding, we can all have our own fearless formula. Have a great day.